Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Q2 financial year 22 earnings conference call of Minda Corporation. I would like to thank you all for joining us on this call here today and hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. In the second quarter of financial year 2022, auto industry saw sequential pickup in demand with recent second wave of health pandemic, and the growth trend was visible in all the vehicle segment of varying extent. I am pleased to report that we have delivered revenue from operation of rupees 731 crore during the quarter, a robust sequential growth of 11.5% as against industry degrowth of -2.6%. EBITDA for the second quarter stood at rupees 77.3 crore with double-digit EBITDA margin of 10.6% despite higher commodity price and indirect adverse impact of semiconductor shortage. Our performance is also reflected in the balance sheet position as our net debt improves to -42 crores and free cash flow generated in first half was rupees 44.5 crores. In today's board meeting, we also took the decision to increase our stake in Minda Stoneridge joint venture to 100% and also expand technical collaboration with our existing partner, Stoneridge Inc. This acquisition is in line with our vision to grow in advanced technological products and enhance value of our stakeholders. Our focus has been on right capital allocation and better utilization of funds. This consolidation will be value accretive as overall financial performance of group will strengthen. We will continue to be in a technical collaboration with Stoneridge and also have flexibility to enter into new collaboration to access technology to offer better products and solution to our customer. This will help the organization to Spark Minda the consolidate the account of Minda Stoneridge line by line, and the financial will get reflected in the revenue and EBITDA of consolidated financial also. B, it will give a flexibility to enter into partnership or collaboration with other players for advanced technology in cluster and sensor along with the existing partner. C, the better utilization of funds and right capital allocation of the QIP money. And finally, it will give access to highly growing global market of cluster and sensors. For this, the more detail will be given by Akash when he goes through the investor presentation. Moving forward, we believe e-mobility is the future, and in line with our vision to offer system solution and increase our EV portfolio, we have acquired 29.6% stake in company EVQ Point from Bangalore. EVQ Point is a pioneer in electric vehicle charging solution, and the company has future-ready products, strong technical expertise, and good design engineering capabilities. This partnership will strengthen our EV supply equipment portfolio and strengthen Minda Corporation position as one-stop shop for comprehensive charging solutions. I am also pleased to share that we have booked lifetime order worth rupees 1,298 crores in this quarter, out of which rupees 488 crores from EV players for both existing and new products. Looking ahead, We are cautiously optimistic of industry growth as economy is recovering, but at the same time, challenges persist, such as short supply of semiconductor, which might impact productions. However, we are confident in our abilities and strong product offering to deliver sustainable, profitable growth and create value for all shareholders. Lastly, I would like to wish you a happy Diwali. With this, I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Akash Minda, Executive Director, to discuss financial and operational performance of the company for the quarter. Over to you, Akash.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minda, for your opening remarks. I would like to welcome all to the Quarter 2 presentation for the FY22. I would like to refer to the presentation, which is also put on our website and also sent to the stock exchange. I would refer to page 3 as the brief overview of Minda Corporation and Spark Minda Limited. We have about 3,200 crores of turnover, more than 16,000 people, and have 33 plants and offices in India and globally. We have 7 partnerships, namely Stonebridge, Vast, Silka, Infact, Furukawa, Bright Vision, and EVQ Point. I now move to the next slide, where I would be sharing the highlights for the Quarter 2 FY22. This is page number 4. So the first one is the earning accretive increase of stake in Minda Stonebridge and expand technical collaboration with Stonebridge, acquiring 26% stake in EVQ Point for strengthening battery charger range for green mobility. Revenue for the quarter continues to outperform the industry numbers. MCL has grown by 11.5% year-on-year as against the industry degrowth of -2.5%. Minda Corporation delivered double-digit EBITDA margin for the quarter, which has improved both sequentially and year-on-year basis. EBITDA margin came at 10.6%, which is 50 basis points higher YOY. Total lifetime order booked in Quarter 2 FY22 is 1,298 crores. We have also strengthened our EV order book with lifetime order win of 488 crores in this quarter, with most of the areas of 100% share of business. We have received 9 programs from 8 different customers in EVs. For most of these, the SOP will be in the next few quarters. I now move to the next slide, which is slide 5, sharing about the acquisition stake of Minda Stonebridge and expanding technical collaboration with our partner. So Minda Corporation acquires balance 49% stake in our joint venture company, Minda Stonebridge. So currently it is a joint venture and it will be turning to be a wholly owned subsidiary. The strategic rationale for this is that this will enable Minda Corporation to do line-by-line consolidation of the financials of Minda Stonebridge, better utilization of funds, cash and overall ROC accretive, flexibility to enter into new and other partnerships and collaborations with other players for advanced technology in clusters and sensors, free access to growing global market of clusters and sensors, continuation of technical collaboration with Stonebridge. We would also like to share that this partnership has been developed over last many years and has been strengthened, and we are thankful to our partner Stonebridge. We continue the collaboration with Stonebridge for clusters and sensors, and also Minda Corporation provides services to our joint venture through our technical center. Hence, we will be strengthening our partnership going forward. I would now like to move to the next slide, which is slide number 6. Before that, I would just like to share a quick about Minda Stonebridge. Minda Stonebridge has been a joint venture company. It's about a 400 crore company having 1,300 people, having capacity of 10 million plus clusters annually and 21 million sensors. 12 patents filed, 3 facilities, 2 in Pune, 1 in Chennai, and products are advanced technology products like 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler commercial vehicle clusters and sensors such as speed sensor, temperature sensors and other sensors. I will now move to the next slide, which is slide 6, where I would like to show on the table on the right side where the high financial numbers of Minda Corporation Limited as well as Minda Stonebridge Limited and consolidated numbers for the year FY21 31st March. So the revenue with MSIL by adding 390 crores would be about 2757 crores. EBITDA would be about 262 crores. And EBITDA percentage, if you see that MSIL has greater, would be much value creative to Minda Corporation. PAT will also increase. I would like to highlight gross debt. Minda Stoneridge has no debt. Rather, it has positive cash of about 81 crores. Hence, increasing our ROC in the overall process. The total payout for this stake is about $21.5 million or 161 crores. I would again like to mention and highlight here that while the QIP money of about 500 crores is here, MSIL has about 81 crores. Overall in the transaction, even after paying out to the partner, we will still have about 420 crores. I would now also like to highlight that the stake based on the FY21 financial numbers have been bought at EV/EBITDA of less than 6 times, which is lower than the multiple of Minda Corporation. I move on to the next slide, which is slide 7, to now highlight the strategic stake of acquiring of strategic stake of 26% in EV Point to strengthen Minda Corporation's EV portfolio. Again, I would like to say that this acquisition has been made through the wholly owned subsidiary of Spark Minda Green Mobility Salute Private Limited, and 26% has been taken in the EV Point in Bangalore. EV Point has future-ready products, good technical expertise and design engineering capabilities. The strategic rationale has been partnership, strengthening of EV supply equipment portfolio and onboard and offboard battery chargers in the range of 250 watt to 6.6 kilowatt. Bolster company's position as a one-stop shop comprehensive charging solution for EVs. Enhanced customer centricity as dependency on China reduces. Minda Corporation's IoT offering will be bundled along with EVQ's power electronics strengthened to cater charging solutions and swapping solutions. MCL will be exclusive strategic investor in EV Point. Our partnership with EV Point will fasten time to market of EV charger solutions and will also widen our portfolio. This will offer a jump start solution for Minda Corporation in already existing product offering of battery chargers. I now move on to the next slide, which is highlights of the Q2 and the industry performance. I'm referring to page number 9 of the presentation. Here again, I would like to share on the left side of the presentation, the green customers are our electric vehicle mobility customers, of course, along with the incumbent players, which are large two-wheeler manufacturers. If I look at the revenue breakdown of H1 FY22, I would like to again highlight that India continues to be our dominant and focused market. Of course, by end market, two-wheelers continue to be about 50% of our focus and revenue, followed by commercial vehicles and passenger cars, and of course, aftermarket and exports. By business vertical, mechatronics and aftermarket continue to be about 55 to 59%, and information and connected systems, which is wiring harness and clusters, are about 40 to 42%. I will now move to the next slide, sharing about the industry performance. As you see in the H1 FY22 year-on-year growth, the industry has grown by 35.6%. But if I look at Q2 itself, in year-on-year, the industry has fallen down by 2.6%. If I focus on the Q2, tractors has grown. Commercial vehicle has started picking up. Three-wheelers has also grown. PV is slightly been growing, but two-wheelers has declined. We continue to monitor the situation of input costs and semiconductor shortages faced by the auto industry, while other global issues are there. I now move to the next slide, which is sharing the consolidated performance of Q2 and H1 FY22. For the Q2 FY22, as an operating revenue, Minda Corporation has achieved 731 crores, EBITDA margin at 10.6% at 77 crores, PBT at 7.1% at 52.7 crores, and PAT at 5.3, which is 39.1 crores. As on year-on-year basis, our operating revenue has grown by 11%, EBITDA margin has grown by 16%, and PAT has grown by 51%. If I look at our H1 numbers, we have been able to do a revenue of 1,289 crores with a margin of 8.4% and PBT of 4.7% and PAT of 3.5%. EBITDA margin stands at 10.6%, as delivered double-digit margin despite higher commodity prices and adverse impacts of semiconductor shortages indirectly impacting Minda Corporation. We have been supported by good growth of aftermarket business, which has grown by 19% year-on-year and 111% quarter-on-quarter. Our exports revenue was at 73 crores, which has grown by 15% year-on-year, but has de-grown by 23% due to the less intake by our export customers due to the global shortage of semiconductor issues. Profit from JV companies were where Minda Stonebridge was 6.8 crores, Minda Vast was about 10 lakhs, and Furukawa Minda was negative 4.3 crores. I now move to the next slide, sharing the business vertical performances on referring slide 12. If I look at the mechatronics and aftermarket division, we posted about 431 crores worth of sale at 13.1% EBITDA margin. The EBITDA margin was favorable impact of higher aftermarket and various cost-cutting measures across divisions, adversely impacted by higher raw material like aluminium and zinc. Information and connected system, we did a 300 crore revenue in the quarter with bouncing back at 7% EBITDA margins. The EBITDA margins had a favorable product mix, slight improvement in labor productivity, and tight control on fixed costs and stable copper prices supporting the EBITDA margins. Information and connected systems grew by 4.8% due to growth in CV segments, which grew by 25% year-on-year, whereas two-wheeler fell by 6%. We were in track to achieve higher single EBITDA numbers for our wiring harness division. By end of this year, our endeavor is to take it close to double-digit numbers. I now move to the next slide, which is slide number 13. I would like to highlight here that CRISIL has upgraded the short-term rating to the highest notch, that is CRISIL A1+, whereas our long-term outlook has improved from stable to positive for A+ category. Despite challenging H1 FY22, the company's net debt position has improved. I will now move to the next slide, referring to the business performance in terms of order win, referring to slide 14. As in quarter 2 FY22, we have been able to do an order book of 1,298 crores, out of which 103 crores have been export, and about 488 crores is from the EV players. If I look at 959 crores has been new orders, and 339 crores is for the replacement orders. If I look at the mechatronics division, about 811 crores have been won, 27% has been replacement, and 73% has been new businesses, primarily focusing on keyless smart key solutions. And total YTD has been about 1,315 crores. If I look at the information and the connected systems, total order book is 237 in quarter 2, whereas 50% is replacement and 50% is new. Most of this is coming from the wiring harness division. In the plastics and interiors, focusing on four-wheelers and lightweighting, we have been able to book lifetime orders worth 78 crores in quarter 2, 100% of orders being new orders. In the others, we have booked orders worth 172 crores, which is again on the EV product and the new electronic products that we are talking about. If I look at the YTD H1 for financial year FY22, we have been able to do an order book of 2,580 crores, out of which 153 crores come from export and 725 crores come from EV players. And overall new business is 750 crores and replacement is 834 crores. I will now move to the last part of the presentation, which is the awards and the CSR activities. The Minda Corporation continues to win orders from our customers and with various initiatives on account of operations, quality, delivery, and we are very thankful to our customers to offer such technologies, offer such awards in Pokayoke and various other competitions. With our corporate social responsibility, we continue to offer various eye checking camps as well as vaccination camps all across our plants. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation and thank you very much. I would like to now open the forum for any questions, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Nitin Arora from Axis Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking my question. The first question is on the results. We saw a gross margin for the company in this kind of an environment actually expanding. Just wanted to know the reason for it. Is it more of localization content which is increasing for you? Because in the last 2 years annual reports, we've been reading that you're focusing a lot on the content part. Is that the right way? That's my first question.
Sure. Thank you for that. The primary reasons has been product mix. As I said, the commercial vehicle sales have been increasing, and of course, our aftermarket sales have also gone up in this quarter. See, these are the main reasons for our gross margin increasing. Of course, the copper prices have been stable, but other commodities such as aluminum and zinc continue to rise.
Getting it. And second, on the the strong order intake, again in the second quarter, especially from the EV part, can you throw some light? Is it more of a bigger client addition which has got these orders, or these orders are existing? Has been spread throughout the clients, and which product? Is it more of the the premium lock-in set? Which is going into, because you also sell with an electrical steering column, the part of the smart key, or is it more of the solution, the total solution, the actuator, die casting? If you can throw some light on the quality of work which you are getting, and when we should start seeing this in the revenue part, if you can throw some light. I'm trying to ask this question more from when your OEMs, from where you taking the order will actually, because there's a lot of supply chain issues what we keep hearing, and the backlogs are rising from the EV. So from that perspective, I'm asking, one is what kind of products you are getting more into penetration into the electric, and when do you think you start executing on the revenue side, these orders?
Sure. So I would like to share that this is all across our divisions and includes new OEMs as well as incumbent two-wheeler EV OEMs. So these are, of course, there are products which are of keyless entry, battery chargers, wiring harnesses, lock sets, telematics. So they are spread across various customers. So the orders that will come into startup production would be about 3 to 4 quarters from now. However, I would like to caution is it all depends on the uptake of the EV mobility going forward. So definitely, while the EV is the future and the EV is going to be increasing year on year and quarter on quarter, our endeavor is to win more and more order book, and as and when the EV uptake will happen, it will start to reflect in our order book. But this is all across our products. Again, if I talk about the keyless entry, it is as a complete product, and even in small parts, so ESCL, complete fob, complete solution as a whole to also incumbent players. Our aim is to win all RFQs that come across our door.
That's helpful, Akash. This last question, though you stated in your presentation about the reason for acquiring Stoneridge, the stake. Just on one statement, which you said that we acquired this stake because we want to focus on high technology area in terms of cluster and sensors. Being Stoneridge in the JV, what stops you from not, going ahead? Was there some compulsion, or was focusing more on CVs? You cannot go ahead with the two-wheelers and other areas. If you can clarify on that point, it would be helpful. And also in context of, post this acquisition, will the revenue run rate or the revenue growth will change? Steps have been taken. I understand the point of ROC accretion and the EPS accretion, but will things really change dramatically? That's why Stoneridge has been leaving, and something you look as a higher revenue run rate company. You can throw some light on that. That's my last question.
Sure. Thank you. I would first like to share that Stoneridge is not leaving. Stoneridge continues to be a strong partner to Minda Corporation, and we continue to have technical collaboration with them. And further, as I mentioned, we are strengthening our collaboration by entering into new products such as EGT sensors, which will be in the market soon, in terms of localization and technology. That's one. Number two, of course, as I mentioned, that Stoneridge is, and we are firstly thankful to Stoneridge for many years of partnerships and handholding us and making this company successful. I would again like to mention here that while the reason for acquisition of this is in line with our vision to grow within advanced technology and products, this is just a financial transaction, you can say, we continue to be in partnership. Also, we are now open and flexible to look at further partnerships and collaborations which are now required by the Indian industry and even others, which Minda Corporation can offer. So these are the important reasons why we would like to consolidate Minda Stoneridge, even have collaboration with our partners, also look at other collaborations, of course, focus on commercial vehicle, two-wheelers and passenger cars.
Thank you, Akash. Thanks for answering. I'll come back in that case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, Stoneridge was earlier JV consolidation and now it will be line by line. Is that the case?
That's right.
Okay. So whatever is reflected in the presentation starts coming on the main P&L from whenever the merger happens.
Absolutely.
Acquisition happens. Sorry. Okay. My second question is, what is the aftermarket growth rate for us in quarter 2 and H1, and what is the contribution to the revenue now from aftermarket?
So aftermarket continues to drive the growth in our divisions. Currently, it is growth at about 19%, and quarter on quarter, it has grown by 111%. Just like other businesses, aftermarket is also one of our endeavors to grow better than the industry. And our endeavor is to take this business to a CAGR of about 15 to 20% in the next 3 to 5 years. We are taking various steps to recover the losses in quarter 1 and subsequent quarters. A couple of factors that will help us grow are, again, focused approach at a target market for demand generation, maintain good connect with primary, secondary and tertiary market, introduction of high potential parts through product range extension. Recently, we launched, for example, the lubricants in earlier this year, and of course, this will continue to add on more products. At this contribution, basically, this gives us contribution at the business vertical levels.
What it is as a percentage of our revenue now, aftermarket as a percentage of our revenue?
So currently, it's about 12 to 13%.
Okay. My other question is on the bridge between the industry volume decline and the corresponding revenue growth for us. So is it fair to assume that bulk of this divergence is because of the CV growth and also because of the content in the wiring harness part of the two-wheeler, or there is any other reason?
So it is not content per vehicle in wiring harness per se, it is the uptake of CV, commercial vehicles, that has happened particularly in the wiring harness. But of course, as an overall, it is, as we've been striving hard for exports, aftermarket, as well as premiumization of our products has now started to kick in.
Okay. And my last question is, sir, we had new order wins last year and we have equally good new order wins in the first half of this year. Now, based on this, what is the incremental revenue from these new order wins? Because you tend to give lifetime orders. So what is the incremental revenue that we can expect from these orders in FY23 and FY22 over and above? Obviously, there is an industry volume growth, but there's additional growth. So what is the execution number for 22 and 23, annual execution number?
Our endeavor is to grow better than the industry. If the industry is going flat, we target to move towards 10% and higher. So all our order wins that are being done in the last 6 months and even before that, they will start to probably reflect in the next 12 to 18 months. or beyond, because in a vehicle, the lead time is about 24 months from the order book. So, of course, I will not be able to give numbers so far, because the average lifetime order book can be divided into by 4 or 5 years to get the average additional sales that we will get on our existing products.
So based on what wins you got last year and what wins you got in the first half, is it a 300 odd crore incremental sales out of this? It's not a number completely out of sync, right?
That's right.
Because you had a 2,500 crore wins, I think, last year also.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, and wish you happy Diwali and happy New Year, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wish you the same as well.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak from Systematix. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Hi, Akash. Firstly, congrats on the Stoneridge, acquisition of the balance stake. A great, I would say, deployment of cash, especially given how the new sensors business should pick up. So quickly, we have not touched upon Stoneridge business. So if you can just, overall size of the business right now, what run rate are we, clocking here, and how's the breakup between clusters and sensors? How's the product mix or the customer mix been in terms of passenger vehicles, series? If you can give us some rundown on that, and also on the future sensor business, because we had one decent amount in the GRT and IERT sensors as well. So, or suit sensors, if there's anything happening on that side as well.
Yes, sure, Ronak. Firstly, pleasure to hear from you always. Thank you very much for that question. Again, on the, would you like to hear the full year numbers or H1 numbers for Stoneridge?
H1, full year numbers, I think last year you have highlighted here, but what should be the first half numbers, or what's the run rate we are clocking here?
Sure.
Or the quarter two numbers would be even better.
Okay, so as in H2 numbers for Minda Stoneridge, we've been able to do about 223 crores as against the full year of 389. So we have done about 223 crores. If I talk about the EBITDA numbers for the H1, we are at about 10.2%. And if I talk about the PBT numbers, they're at about 7%, and the PAT numbers are at about 5%. Again, gross debt is 0 in terms of Minda Stoneridge. Cash is 81 crores, and ROCE is, of course, 26.7%. If I speak about the various market shares that we have in the product sensors and clusters, we are commanding the market share in whichever segments and chosen areas that we are in. And of course, I will not be able to give you the breakup of the clusters and sensors, but it is more or less about dominated by clusters, which is about 60%, and the rest is sensors.
Okay. Sure. And in terms of commercial vehicle, passenger vehicle mix, so how is it? This would be more commercial vehicle, I guess?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. So that should improve. Yeah, perfect. And more on the sensors piece, we had one lot of BS6 sensor business and suit sensors when the RDE norms kick in. So how has been the order wins on that part of the business?
Yeah, so Ronak, when again, we are into various sensors of, speed sensors, temperature sensors, side stand position sensors. We are working internally also on various new types of sensors like TPMS and intelligent battery sensors, etc. So I will not be able to share you the current order wins for each of these product lines, but a lot of development is going on in-house, along with our partner also. For example, Stoneridge is supporting us in the EGT and EGRT sensors in terms of localization and providing technology, for which we already have order wins, so that will help us.
Okay, great. Second question on the wiring harness piece. We are seeing now improvement in EBITDA margin. So from the current 7%, how will the trajectory to double-digit margin play out? If you can, help us guide on that. With commodities, like you said, are stabilizing, can you chalk out a plan on how this 7% can reach up to the previous double-digit margin?
Yes, Ronak, there are a couple of initiatives that we have taken in the past, and hopefully they should be giving us results soon. So of course, commercial vehicle uptake is one. Second is localization of our components. And third is internal productivity when it comes to labor. And fourth is, of course, raw material. If copper tends to stable or go lower, it will definitely help us.
Okay. And is there an under recovery on copper price here as of first half?
No, not in the first half, but yes, in quarter two.
Okay. And right, that would come in Q3. Sure. And the final question on the EV order wins, if you can maybe if you can highlight that separately, how is the total EV order win, this year or last year put together now? And did I hear you correctly saying that the most of these order wins would start getting executed in next 3 to 4 quarters, like mainly from FY23 onwards? Is that correct?
Yes, you can say FY23 and beyond, Ronak. And again, I would like to highlight that while our endeavor is to win the RFQs and products, but it really, would like to force on the uptake of the EV industry itself. So would just really like to caution that as well. While we are definitely proud of winning these orders, but it all depends how the EV industry picks up.
But put together, we have around 730 odd crores order win as of now in the current year. And what would be the number from last year? Have we crossed like around 1,000 crores of order wins or?
No, we are, I would say, close to that. But soon we should be able to cross that, hopefully.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. All the very best and wish you all a very happy Diwali.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So first question is on Stoneridge. So Stoneridge revenue has been stagnating over last 2 years. So one, what will change the revenue growth trajectory and by when should we expect that change? See, apart from the volume recovery that will happen, what will change the revenue growth in Stoneridge?
So, thank you again for that question. Primarily, clusters will go through a premiumization route because of the megatrends and regulations that are coming in. So, moving from digital analog clusters to now TFT clusters or digital clusters will drive the growth piece. So we should hopefully start seeing them in about, again, couple of quarters from here once the order book starts kicking in.
Okay, this is helpful. But I was also referring to that post you acquire the stake, how will the business outlook change over here? Because this benefit would have happened even if the JV would be existing, right? Analog to digital shift. So what incremental you would be doing which the JV arrangement was not able to focus on?
No, so see again, as I mentioned, this is a financial transaction, right? All the technological partnership, the technical engineering, etc., all continues. So while we will have better synergies, we will have better control. We would be running this company now freely, and to offer our customers, we can now explore and have flexibility to get more partners and collaborations on this front. So that is something that will help us. Of course, as I mentioned, it will help us as a line-by-line consolidation in the company. So we can take it more of a financial transaction and all the technology continues.
Yeah. Just a housekeeping one. So when do we expect this approvals to come in place? So timeline-wise, it will take 12 months or it could be a shorter time duration?
This will, 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months. And it will be effective from the date of approval, or it will be effective from slightly backdated? So when it will be effective from, as far as consolidation is concerned?
So from the date of approval, which should be about 2 to 3 months.
Okay. Okay. And lastly, so the follow-up question on the order wins, especially new order wins that we had last year. Is it possible to indicate what is the kind of downward revision in the lifetime orders given the slowdown? Because generally what happens is you give out a lifetime order win, and then there could be some downward revisions in your estimate that could be happening either because of industry-specific issues or model-specific issues. So if you can just tell us what has been your experience on that side and on the downward revision. So once you estimate a model revenue or lifetime revenue, how much it moves downward as well as upward on the both fronts?
So we do, of course, sensitivity analysis, of course, with the order wins as well as the current orders. But again, the market is so volatile right now with the various challenges, again, semiconductors and other things. The intake of the customers are a challenge. While export orders, even domestics, like we are seeing our customers having huge inventory pile-ups, and the festive season has also not been that great due to the various reasons and challenges. So the next few quarters and also the years look to be quite cautiously optimistic, I would say. So we have to do a wait and watch game. And while we do a lot of sensitivity, we do a lot of simulations, it is really hard to comment and commit. But again, our endeavor is to cater to all our customers in whatever they are asking us for and support them in exports or domestic. But yes, the next quarter and the one after that, until and as the semiconductors are resolved, the sensitivity will continue to be towards on the negative side.
And lastly, on the die casting business, any update on that in terms of further traction, because we have achieved a reasonable size? Any update on that? From here on, how do we look at the growth for the die casting business? We were on a stellar growth pace over the last 2 years.
Yes. So again, our endeavor is to grow the die casting business. We've been looking at exports. But as I mentioned, our overall global order intake is less, and inventory is being piled up at the customers due to the supply or the shortages of semiconductors. So definitely we are winning orders like we showed in the exports, and domestic customers are also giving us orders. So as I mentioned, we would like to grow this division somewhere again north of 10 to 12% CAGR.
Okay. Yeah, this is it. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mayur Milak from EM Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi. So, just trying to understand, you mentioned the wiring harness margins are low and possibly should move up as the CV uptick happens. But just trying to understand this, that is it that you make, higher or different margins in different segments?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So will that also explain that why a player like a Motherson Sumi possibly makes much better margins in the PV wiring harness, because it is more segment driven rather than an overall part of the vehicle, is it?
Sorry, I can't comment on any other company.
First, please, let me touch. First is the localization is very, very important, and we are giving very much focus. That will improve the margin for this. Secondly, the back-to-back arrangement with or indexing with the copper, for the copper is already we have with the customer. But other than the copper, the commodity price has also increased substantially. So that we are also, and earlier it was not increased, so that only back-to-back arrangement with the copper was there. But now we are in the process how to get this back-to-back arrangement for all the commodity, not only for the copper. So that will increase gradually the margin and the EBITDA margin. That is what we are doing.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. So what you're suggesting is that you will gradually have a complete RM pass on, whether it is a rise or a drop.
so it should not impact our long-term margins as such. Maybe it comes with a quarter lag here and there, but long-term margins should be pretty much intact for the segment.
Absolutely, like PVC, the brass, we never used to do that back to back, but now we are starting there. So that will not impact our margin, but yes, you are right.
All right. And just coming to your capacities, so are we sitting on good capacities? As in, let's say, if the industry were to surprise in the CV segment by, let's say, a 25-30% kind of volume CAGR, would we be sitting on enough capacity to cater to all of it, or then there is a chance that we might lose some of that because of non-availability of capacity?
See, at this moment when there was a time when the pandemic was there, so we were very clear when the production is going to start. So, but now with the semiconductor, sometimes we have to run 2 shifts and 3 shifts, and sometimes when the customer is not having semiconductor, we have to sit idle. So this is the present situation. But nevertheless, we don't see that the capacity expansion is needed. Whatever the regular capex what we have planned, we will manage all those capacity increase within that cash outflow.
Okay, great. And just one question on the EV side. So I read the presentation and it said that you are entering into the BMS and a lot of other parts on the EV front, and it said that it is in the development process. So just trying to understand the order book that you won. Would that include these parts that you are working on, or it is for parts that you've already established yourself as a player and then it gets executed as and when the EV industry is on the rise?
So Mayur, I'll take that question. It's both. It's spread across all our divisions and it's spread across all the products. So again, as I mentioned, it's wiring harnesses, battery chargers, lock sets, clusters, sensors, various products.
No, I was just specifically wanting to understand, something that is WIP from a product perspective. So will the order book also have an order amount for that WIP product, or this will be for, whatever we are sitting on as a ready house? Just trying to understand that.
Of course, there are products which are WIP, for example, chargers, DC-DC converters. So there are, again, products for maybe some range of products in, let's say, chargers or DC-DC, and then there are some WIP, let's say, higher range of the same product. So yes, there are various products in WIP.
Okay. Thank you. That was it. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Jain from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. Sir, how much increase in content per vehicle in two-wheeler business, specifically in EVs versus ICE, and how is the change in client concentration for the two-wheeler business post-winning business from the new OEM? Will you see significant decline in the Bajaj Auto contribution because of these new orders from the EV?
Sorry, Abhishek, your voice was not clear. May I ask you to repeat the question, please?
Sir, I was asking that how much increase in content per vehicles in EVs versus ICE for your two-wheeler business? And how is the change in the client concentration for the two-wheeler business post-winning this business, especially for the EVs?
So, currently our offering in the ICE two-wheeler engine is somewhere about 4,000 to 6,000 rupees. And going forward, we are looking at the EV offering to 16,000 to 18,000 rupees kit value. If I speak about the customers, if I understood your question correctly, we are supplying and winning orders from both incumbent players and large two-wheeler manufacturers, as well as new players or startups, even large startups, mature startups, and even young startups.
So you had a strong contribution from the Bajaj Auto earlier. So you have won the new business from the new OEMs, especially from the Ola and other players. So can we see a significant decline of Bajaj contribution in overall revenue?
So I will not be able to comment particularly on a customer. Again, there are various customers who are giving us orders. We treat all customers as paramount for us. Bajaj will continue to be a very good customer. Ola is also as a customer to us, as well as other big OEMs as well. So all customers are having faith in us, and we're looking to grow business with them.
Okay. Next question is related with this aluminum die casting business. So just wanted to know what is the current capacity utilization and how much CapEx you are looking for this business.
So current capacity utilization of our die casting facilities are about 74%.
And what would be the peak revenue from this?
The peak revenue from this should be about 500 to 550 crores.
And most probably you will be able to achieve it in FY23, right?
Abhishek, I'll have to get back to you with all the numbers on the future numbers, but as I mentioned, we would like to grow this business. We are going to further expand capacity when we get further orders from our customers. So definitely there is capacity right now in this current setup. So yes, hopeful to achieve those in the next few months and years, and then expand more.
And in aluminum die casting, what is the proportion of this export versus domestic?
So about 30% is export. 30% is export, 70% is domestic.
Okay. Thanks, sir. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jehan Bhada from Nirmal Bang. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Sir, if I look at at industry level, the EV sales are still at probably 1-2%. Whereas the order booking which we are doing is almost to the tune of 35 to 40% of total order inflows. So if you can explain why such a big gap is there.
Sorry, can you explain that question a little better, please?
Yeah. So if I look at the order inflow for your company, it is almost 35 to 40% is from the EV side, right? Whereas at the industry level, still, if we look at the sales, EV sales as a mix will be barely 1-2%, right? So why such a big difference, in your order booking and?
No, again, it is not that, again, all our customers, whether it's EV or IC, of course, the products that we are working on and we have worked on have, again, better penetration in EV vehicles, whether you say as cluster or the kit value that I mentioned to you. So, and all our customers are working on EV product lines as well. So it is, I would say, probably a quarter or two, that the pie looks to be skewed, maybe from EV, but definitely IC engine continues to give us a lot of business as well, whether all segments and even EV. Vikas, maybe you would like to add something on that, please.
Yeah. So, Jian, two more things. If you look at Minda Corporation, nearly 50% of our revenue comes from two-wheeler. That's where EV is taking the sale. Right. That is one point. That's why our orders from EV is more as compared to the industry. Second is, as Akash mentioned, that the kit value in IC was 4,000 rupees, whereas the kit value in EV is around 4x of that, so around 16,000 rupees. So even if the penetration in the market is 5%, my revenue from EV will be 20% because the kit value increases.
Right. Got it. Okay. And also from the company's perspective, let's say couple of years down the line or maybe 4 years down the line, what could be the two-wheeler, the EV penetration in the two-wheeler industry? Where can we reach?
Yeah, this is Ashok Minda. This is very difficult question. But our perception is that maybe 4 or 5 years later, the total percentage will be the EV percentage across the segment will not be more than 50 to 20% because IC is also going to increase. So this is our perception. Because the cost is also the important factor of the EV and the infrastructure is also important factor. So this is our perception, but we do not know that how, but definitely yes, the two-wheeler and three-wheeler is going to, this EV is going to happen very, very fast.
Right. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Jay Kale for closing comments.